My absolute all-time favourite tool for supporting your work while soldering is a potato. Potatoes are great because they're really dense, they've got good moisture content, but they're very easy to carve into, and even when you carve bits away they're still quite rigid. So they're perfect for carving sections out and jamming your work into them if you need to support your work at a certain angle, or just pushing your work down into if it's thin enough. So for example, if you had thin bits of wire, you could push it down into the potato and hold it in position while soldering your elements onto it. So to demonstrate this, what I'm going to do is I've got 3 little ring bands here, and I'm going to solder them spread out slightly with a little bit of wire bridging across the top. So I've got my potato. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. There we go. So obviously I'm using a knife. When we've been doing this in a classroom environment, students quite often use their jeweler saw to cut through it. It cuts through quite easily. Now the next thing I'm going to do, as you can probably see, it's a little bit rocky because it's a potato. So I'm going to cut the curve off of here as well. I'm just going to stand up to do this. So I'm just cutting that curved area off so that I've got a nice flat stable surface to work on. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rings and I'm going to score some lines in the potato and insert them spaced out how far I'd like them to be spaced. Okay, so it doesn't matter where the first one goes, so I'm just going to take my knife and make a little incision. Take my ring band and push it in, like that. Now I want this to bridge the gap, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to make a little incision for the last ring band in line with that bit of wire. So that is going to be about here. And I'm going to put that ring band in, like so, to the same height. And then I'm going to make an incision in the middle and pop the third one in. There we go. So now my ring bands are evenly spaced and they're all at the same height, so that little bit of wire can sit nice and flat across all 3 of them. So that little bit of wire is in contact with all 3 bands, which is really important for this to work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little bit of wire off and I'm going to sweat solder this. So take my flux, wet it in the dish, grind it into a paste, paint the areas that I want to join together, and I'm going to flux my piece of wire, and then I'm going to get some solder and I'm going to dot the solder along the back of the wire. Like so. So now I'm going to heat my wire until the solder runs. And there it goes. Now I'm going to heat my ring bands just until they're up to temperature. So that flux goes nice and glassy. And then I'm going to place my wire onto my ring bands. Pop the torch down for this because it's going to be a little bit fiddly. Just going to take my time getting it in the position that I want it to be. Always easier said than done. like so. So now I have to focus all the heat on the ring bands, because that little bit of wire is really small, so it would get hotter a lot quicker than the ring bands. But also the potato is acting as a heat sink, so the potato and the moisture content in the potato will be zapping some of the heat away from my ring bands, which means it's important that I get those nice and up to soldering temperature, first one's gone, for this to work. There you go, and that's it done. The shed now smells like chips. But apart from that, it doesn't make much mess. I'm going to quench this in the cold water to cool it down. And there you go, we've got a solid band with a bridge across it that just needs a really good cleaning up. So I'm going to pop this in the pickle. There you go, giving it a quick sand. So there's one triple band ring, evenly spaced, even height, with a piece of pearl or balled wire bridging across the gap, soldered together using the humble spud. So there's so many things you can use to support your work. Basically, as long as it's not flammable, as long as it's not highly, not toxic, use it. Do some trial and error. Some people use things that are weighted to pin work into position. Titanium solder strips are really popular at the minute, so they're bits of titanium that you can bend into whatever shape you fancy, because it's quite a springy material, and they help clip your piece together, very similar to the cotter pins that we use. But let me know what the most unusual thing you've used to solder jewellery together with is. And also, let me know what your favourite things are. What do you like to use to support your work? Or are there certain joins that you try and do that you just really struggle to support them, and you could do with some tips and ideas, because I or other people following the project may be able to help out with that. But yeah, like I say, absolutely all sorts. It all comes down to having to have a good point of contact. So in this case, that bit of wire needed to be touching all three bands for the soldering to work. It needed to be secure there, so those three ring bands needed to stand upright and not be moving around while I was soldering, and all the elements needed to be the same soldering temperature for the solder to work. So that's why I was heating the ring bands a lot more than the piece of wire, so that the ring bands were hot enough. Well, that's the end of Make It Month 4, even though it's not even April anymore. A couple of days into May. Oh, I don't know where this year's gone. So, got my potato ring. Like I say, a little ring band with a piece of wire soldered across the top. But this month, Make It Month 5 that we're now officially in, we're going to be looking at how to set cabochon stones. So flat backed stones rather than faceted diamond shaped ones. We'll be doing those later in the year. So the important thing with cabochon setting is basically not melting your bezel. So getting your bezel, the bit that goes around it, the right fit, and not melting it. So it's very similar. It's going to be a lot more soldering. Very similar to Make It Month 4, but just a bit more bling. If you've been doing cabochon setting and you've been facing particular barriers and issues that keep cropping up, either ping me a message in the comments, pop a message in the comments, or the same on the Kernowcraft page, and I'll try my best to try and answer those when we're doing the demo videos this month. So I'm going to have a little break over the bank holiday weekend, and then we're going to be back to it in a few days' time looking at cabochon setting. So like I say, much more soldering, but we've got some beautiful stones to set in with it. So I look forward to that, and I hope that you follow along, and I hope that you're enjoying the videos. Bye for now. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.